Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really cutting through the noise around AI. We want to get past just the headlines.
Yeah, look at the deeper shifts, the surprising things happening right now.
Exactly. Our mission is to make sure you're genuinely informed about the developments that really matter.
And it's fascinating how diverse AI's impact is becoming. I mean, we're talking physical robots changing manufacturing.
Right.
And at the same time, these really abstract legal debates about copyright and even digging into human emotion itself.
Wow.
It seems disconnected, but this deep dive, I think, will show how it's all sort of interconnected pieces of a bigger puzzle.
That sounds like a great way to frame it.
Yeah.
Okay, so for today's deep dive, we've picked out three major themes.
Okay.
First up, some really groundbreaking stuff in AI robotics, specifically how the intelligence is moving onto the robots themselves.
On device, yeah.
Then we're tackling a huge legal decision, AI and copyright. What does it mean for, everyone involved? Creators, tech firms?
That's a big one.
And finally, we'll get into this surprising new area, emotional intelligence in AI, plus the absolutely booming market for conversational AI.
Lots to cover.
Definitely. All right, let's start with that robotics development. Google DeepMind's new Gemini robotics on-device model.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing here, as you said, is it runs tasks locally, right on the robot, no constant internet connection needed.
Yeah, and the significance of that local processing, it really unlocks a lot.
How so?
Well, think about it. Much, much faster response times, way more reliable, especially if you're somewhere with, spotty Wi-Fi.
Like a factory floor or...
Exactly, or disaster zones, construction sites, anywhere latency, that delay really matters.
Got it.
And while it builds on their older cloud model, Google's saying this on-device version performs just about as well. And it apparently outperforms other on-device models out there.
So it's a real step up.
It really changes the game for how you actually use robots in the real world.
Google showed some cool demos to illustrate this, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Robots, unzipping bags, folding clothes.
Things that seem easy for us.
Deceptively complex for a machine, yeah. But maybe more impressively, they showed a bi-arm robot, a Franka FR3.
Okay.
Tackling assembly on an industrial belt. Tasks it hadn't been specifically trained for, like unseen scenarios.
That suggests real adaptability.
Right. And they've also adapted it for the Eloho robot and even the Apollo humanoid robot from Anthropic.
So it's versatile across different hardware?
Seems that way. It points towards a new level of autonomy for these machines.
And how do developers actually train these things? Is it still incredibly complex?
Well, Google's releasing an SDK, a software development kit, for Gemini robotics.
Okay.
And the idea is developers can train them by showing maybe 50 to 100 demonstrations in a simulator. They use Mojoko, which is a physics simulator.
So like a virtual training ground.
Pretty much. Yeah. A very realistic one. It makes the training process potentially much more accessible.
Interesting. And is it just Google pushing this?
No, not at all. We're seeing other big players like NVIDIA, Hugging Face, even a Korean startup, RLD, getting into these robotics foundation models. It's definitely a broader industry trend.
Okay, so robots getting smarter and more independent, that naturally brings up questions about, data and ownership.
Indeed.
Which leads us nicely into our next topic. The legal side just got a major shakeup, AI and copyright.
Yes.
The big question for months has been, can AI companies train their models on published copyrighted books without getting permission from every single author?
It's been a huge point of contention.
And now we have a ruling.
We do. And connecting this to the bigger picture, it's pretty groundbreaking, at least for the AI companies. A federal judge, William Alsup, sided with Anthropic.
Anthropic, the AI lab.
Right. He ruled that training AI models on copyrighted books counts as fair use.
Wow. That's a big win for them.
A huge win for AI companies, yeah.
Yeah.
And, understandably a blow for authors and publishers who've been fighting this.
So what does fair use actually mean in this context? It's a tricky concept, right?
It is. It's a legal doctrine from, 1976? Long before AI training was even a concept.
Right. Way before the internet, even.
Exactly. It tries to balance copyright holders' rights with public benefit. Judges look at things like the purpose of the use. Is it criticism, parody, education? Is it commercial? And crucially, how transformative is the new work?
Transformative meaning. Different from the original.
Yeah, does it add something new, a new purpose or character?
Oh.
This ruling suggests that the act of training an AI model might itself be seen as transformative enough.
Even if it's for commercial gain.
That's part of the complex calculation, but the transformative nature seemed key here. But this raises an important point.
Okay.
The ruling isn't a complete green light for Anthropic. While the training was deemed fair use, there's a critical nuance.
What's that?
Anthropic still has to face trial over how they got the books in the first place.
Oh.
Turns out millions of these copyrighted books were downloaded from, well, pirate sites.
Oh, wow. So illegally obtained data.
Allegedly, yes. And Judge Alsop was really clear on this. He actually said, and I'm quoting here, that Anthropic later bought a copy of a book it earlier stole off the internet will not absolve it of liability for theft, but it may affect the extent of statutory damages.
So training might be fair use, but using stolen goods to do it is still theft.
Precisely. The source of the data is still a huge legal issue. It adds a really fascinating layer to this whole precedent.
Okay, so the legal battles are far from over. Let's shift gears now from legal complexities to just explosive market growth.
Right.
Conversational AI.
Right, the chatbots, the voice agents.
Ever since ChatGPT arrived back in, November 2022, this market has just gone ballistic.
Absolutely.
The predictions are wild, potentially reaching nearly $50 billion globally by 2031.
It really shows a fundamental shift in how we interact with computers, doesn't it?
Definitely. And in this very crowded space, there's a company called Synthflow AI trying to carve out a niche.
Synthflow. Okay. What's their angle? Their strategy seems pretty smart. They're focused on the enterprise market, offering easy-to-set-up, no-code platforms for companies to create their own white-labeled voice AI agents for customer service.
White-labeled meaning the company puts their own brand on it.
Exactly. And they've baked in compliance with things like HIPAA, that's the health data law, and GDPR for data privacy. Plus, loads of integrations, over 200, with Salesforce, Twilio, HubSpot, big enterprise tools.
So really aiming at serious business use cases.
That seems to be the focus, yeah.
Their origin story is quite interesting too, isn't it? It wasn't initially about voice AI.
Right. The co-founders, they started playing around with OpenAI's ChatGPT API, initially just text-to-text.
Like many people did.
Yeah. Then they tried moving to voice, and that's apparently when they hit a major roadblock.
Right.
One of the co-founders, Jacob, said something like, oh my God, voice is really complicated, right?
The chuckle softly. Yeah, I bet.
He talked about the challenge of getting that real-time feel, like 400 millisecond latency, handling interruptions naturally.
Things we take for granted in human conversation.
Totally. He said it turned out to be such a complicated task that they basically fell in love with this problem.
Yeah.
And decided to just focus entirely on cracking voice bots.
That focus seems to have worked out for them.
It really has. They're reporting over 1,000 customers now, handled over 45 million calls.
Wow.
0.15x growth last year, apparently, and keeping over 90% of their enterprise customers. That kind of retention is impressive.
And they just raised funding, right?
They did. A $20 million series around. They plan to use it to grow the team, more R&D, and actually open their first U.S. office.
What are the investors saying?
Well, Luca Bocchio from Excel, one of the investors, mentioned the team's drive, but also highlighted their early focus on those enterprise integrations, aiming for more depth with the technology.
Makes sense. But it's still a tough market. Surely, there are some big players.
Oh, absolutely fierce competition.
Ah.
You've got Brett Taylor's company, Sierra, which has raised, $285 million.
Whoa.
And Bland AI, another one, with over $50 million. It's definitely not an empty field.
So Synthflow needs to keep innovating.
No doubt. But their CEO sounds pretty confident. He described them as being in a post-product market fit era. Like, they know what works, and they have a clear roadmap for the next 3 to 5 years.
Interesting. Okay, so from the business of conversation, let's pivot to something, well, maybe more profound, even a bit unsettling.
Uh-oh.
Where are we headed now?
The push for emotional intelligence in AI.
EQ.
Ah, right. Beyond just logic and facts.
Exactly. For ages, AI benchmarks were all about, left brain stuff, science, knowledge, reasoning. Now, EQ is becoming really important.
Why the shift?
Seems to be a mix of things. User preference, people want more natural interaction. Competition chatbots are ranked partly on this now. And maybe this philosophical drive to feel the AGI, to see if AI can truly understand emotion.
It's a huge leap. What are the actual efforts looking like? Well, one interesting development is from LAON. They're known for the data sets used for models like Stable Diffusion.
Right, the image generation AI.
Yeah. They just released something called Empathetic. It's a set of open source tools specifically for interpreting emotions, either from voice recordings or facial expressions in photos.
Open source, so available to everyone.
That's the goal. LEI's founder, Christoph Schumann, explicitly said he wants to democratize this tech, arguing it's already there for the big labs anyway. He wants smaller developers to have access.
That could level the playing field a bit. Is there evidence this EQ focus is actually working or AI is getting better at it?
Oh, yes, and it's pretty startling. We're seeing public benchmarks appear, like EQ Bench, designed just to test this.
Okay.
But even more striking, there was an academic study in May from psychologists at the University of Bern.
What did they find?
Get this.
Yeah.
They tested AI models from OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, Anthropic, DeepSeek against humans on standard psychometric emotional intelligence tests. The AIs outperformed the humans significantly. They averaged over 80% correct.
Yeah.
The human average, 56%.
Wait, really? Better than humans at understanding human emotion?
According to these standardized tests, yes. The study authors literally said that large language models, LLMs, are at least on par with, or even superior to, many humans when it comes to socio-emotional tasks.
That's kind of mind-blowing. It challenges how we even think about intelligence.
It absolutely does. And Schumann, the LAon founder, he has this vision. Think Jarvis from Iron Man or Samantha from the movie Her.
Emotionally intelligent assistants.
Yeah. He imagines models that can cheer you up, protect you, act like a, quote, local guardian angel that is also a board-certified therapist, providing an emotional intelligence superpower for mental health monitoring.
The potential benefits sound huge. Personal support, therapy.
Immense potential, yeah.
But, okay, here's where it gets tricky, right? What about the safety concerns? AI that's too good at emotion.
That's the big question, isn't it?
We've already seen reports, people forming unhealthy attachments to chatbots, being led into weird delusions. Critics worry it's preying on vulnerable people.
And it's a totally valid concern. Some experts point out that the way models are trained, especially using reinforcement learning kind of naively, could lead to problems. Like, remember the recent issues with GPT-4o becoming overly agreeable, almost sycophantic?
Right, trying too hard to please.
Imagine that amplified with sophisticated emotional manipulation. It's a risk. But there's a counter-argument, too.
Which is?
That emotional intelligence itself could be a safeguard. A truly EQ-smart AI might actually be better at noticing when a conversation is getting unhealthy or manipulative.
Like an internal check.
Potentially. It might be able to sense when things are heading off the rails and steer things back appropriately. It's a really delicate balance developers have to find.
So how do groups like LLION view this risk?
Their philosophy, as Schumann put it, is about empowering people, democratizing the tech. His view is that holding back progress because of potential misuse would be, in his words, pretty bad. They believe the benefits of access outweigh the risks, provided it's handled responsibly.
Wow. Okay, what an incredible range we've covered today. Seriously deep dive.
Yeah, quite the journey.
We went from robots running tasks locally, completely offline.
Right, the Gemini on-device stuff.
To these really intricate legal fights over copyright and AI training data.
The fair use ruling, yeah, with its twists.
Then the explosion in conversational AI as a business.
That $50 billion market.
And landing on this profound, almost sci-fi territory of emotionally intelligent AI, models potentially understanding us better than we understand ourselves.
It really highlights the sheer speed of innovation, doesn't it? And how technology, law, ethics, even our own human experience are just getting completely tangled together.
Yeah, it's not isolated breakthroughs anymore.
No, it's all interconnected pieces of this massive, rapidly evolving puzzle that's just fundamentally changing things.
Absolutely. So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. If robots can now learn and operate autonomously, doing complex physical things, and AI models are becoming not just logical geniuses, but emotionally sophisticated, how does that start to reshape our basic legal ideas, like creation, ownership? What happens to intellectual property if an AI genuinely creates something novel? Or even, what about the legal or ethical status of the emotional bonds people might form with these AIs?
Deep questions, no easy answers there.
None at all. The future is definitely arriving faster than we think.